Recently, the Nintendo HQ got broken into by some elite hacksaws and they stole all of the ancient codes right out from underneath Miyamoto's nose, as well as several pudding cups he was saving for a rainy day. Handing off the code to an elite team of people who don't leave their domiciles allowed them to crack these lines of data to find a plethora of hidden secrets that could possibly put several YouTube channels out of business if their whole shtick wasn't repeating stuff someone else already found. Among the codes cashed in was one that proved the 12th letter of the alphabet was in fact real in the titular title of Mario to the 64th power. Sure, it was well known that he was planned, but now there was physical data, and inspired by the barrage of new well-known information, I decided to do a little digging myself. You see, it turns out this particular letter shows up in almost any game featuring the wonderful Wahoo Man. Even the titles where in a normal playthrough there is nary a mention nor whiff of this lanky linguini lad. The one I set my sights on was in fact the one run that allows for fun in the sun. Super Mario Sunshine. Upon finding the green code, I reached out to the main man himself for the following statement.
Look, man, I'll level with you. When you're pretty buzzed, it's hard to tell which of the Nintendo brothers is who, you know? If I'm rocking a party vibe, we can wind up months into development before I realize the team's actually making a game about the opposite brother. Like heck, Mario's mansion just sounded so much better, right? But apparently the documents called for the green guy and I already had him in the sunny one. So I made the old switcheroo and nobody seemed to notice.
Judging by how a Mario model exists in Luigi's mansion, it's a guaranteed fact that this is true because I have a following and I said something online. So a careful swap was made prior to release and it was swept under the rug until now, or until several other YouTubers made videos about this particular mod.
See, the thing is, Boku no Hero Academia is just a poor man's Naruto. There is no way Bakugo can achieve the level of complexity that Sasuke had, and furthermore—
This is Luigi%. So the silly Sunshine Slog through a big beach of bad bile can star the lean mean green machine on the scene instead of the rambunctious red runt. Of course, along with the character swap, there are a plethora of gameplay changes. For starters, Mario is replaced with Luigi in terms of looks, voice, and backpacks. Now that we're all caught up on the changes, we can start the run. To those who are unaware, unlike other Mario titles, there isn't actually a shine requirement to beat the game. Instead, the 7th chapter of each locale must be beaten before the beach floods and allows access to a mountain whose name has aged like a fine milk. Along this journey, I had my bobbing bitch of a bot known as Cybo-chan being a doll and a peach, but also a giant beach. You see, CC helps run a minigame known as Run HP, where my livestream viewers can use channel points to either help or hurt the run in a variety of ways. That being said, I buckle in and plop down onto the plane strip filled with pulsing puke. I'm not afraid to get dirty, so I hop, skip, and jump over the placeholder pack that quickly transforms into the Polterflood post-cutscene. Spraying down the pukey plant, I return the strip to its normal state before being picked up by the Popo and taken to the prisoner palace.
The reason? It's quite obvious. This horrible graffiti is to blame.
that's not fair. I'm only responsible for one of those brown puddles.
Put on parole, I proceeded to the plaza by propelling myself with my powerful pack to prompt the poo-poo plant to participate in passing a puddle of my pack's perspiration down its pipes. Despite not being on this vacation, the main man Mario has apparently been playing too much Persona, and his other self elects to enact his heart's desire and capture the princess. This is a dire situation, but Cece, being the gentle lass she is, knows that the summer heat is tough to beat, and rolls a freeze BB, which makes me unable to move for 30 seconds. Thrown off cycle, I stop the shadowy sibling in some shade before he shoos to cut through, but I pursue in my attempt to subdue. With a wave of his wand and my mistimed early entrance, he escapes to the first stage, and I get a quick reminder of what happens when you unearth discarded data from Nintendo. You see, this being a mod, it is not perfect, and bringing L to the real world unfortunately brings about a plethora of curses. One of these is the inability to hover after the plaza plays shadowy face. So unfortunately, a reset was required in order to gain a key feature back. Now that I'm able to hover, I hop over to this hydro hole and use the skeeter to bypass the first shine, but the RNG wasn't the kindest, and I land just shy of the windmill platform. If Mario is a speed demon, Luigi is probably a speed kobold or some other low-level enemy, but it doesn't matter to me as I take in the scenery before prepping to pulverize the putrid poo-poo puking plant. Cece didn't get the message that the hover loss was a Nintendo curse and instead believes it to be the cause of this paisano packing on the pasta pounds and rolls jumping jacks in an attempt to get us to lose weight. After 10 quick jumps, I remember to hydrate Petey Piranha, who plummets to the pavement before proving he's poop. The sight was rather graphic, so I head to the place I go to cry only to find out someone turned it into another world. With some masterfully made jumps with zero hesitation, I snag another shine and head back to town to grab coins of the red variety. Jealous of my newly found wealth, this prompts a part 2 with old Petey Piranha, who I power on by popping a pig towards this putrid plant. A few more reminders from Hydration Bot proves too much for him, and he pulls a Jevil and bans himself from life instead of me. Following in their grandpappy's footsteps, a pile of pukey plant pops up back at the plaza, and despite not beating the shadowy sibling, I rush over to pop this pimple ASAP. Heading to the next zone, I slide up to procure fruit, and much like a banana split, I perform a coconut clip. Seeing as how that was the 8th mission, the game figures I've beaten the other stages, and so I'm able to select the 7th and tackle the shadowy sibling and steal his shine. With a skip and a hop, I head for the top and then drop and face the second of the Nintendo curses. For whatever reason, watching the puppies plop into the pool will cause a very obnoxious crash.
Bam. Okay. Run it back.
So upon reloading the area, I was forced to cover my eyes and avert my camera before pushing those pups in the proper place. Despite my movement being insanely suboptimal, the next mission allows me to at least take some solace in the fact that I'm above the level of a casual speedrunner, as portrayed by the postal Pianta impersonator, Piantissimo. Since the stage doesn't end until he hits the pole anyway, I belly hop the majority of the route before taking my prize. A haunted wah wails in the wind as I'm struck by another Nintendo curse, with flashes of purple across the screen as we prep to step over the lava and up onto the platform to procure another sprite. Sure shooting, akin to their kin of the smaller variety, the Golden Gal caused a crash if we did the unthinkable and watched her bathe. So being the gentleman I am, I turned away as she stepped into the bath before pouncing on top of her for my reward for getting her wet. I went above, so logically the next step is below, and by bouncing atop these fungi I finagle to this floor where I pretend the wall is a door and crash through to hover back to clip through this shroom. So it's been a dream of mine to cosplay as a chuckster and head to a convention and hurl people at walls. But unfortunately that would most likely get me arrested. Here however, chucksters are thriving and living the life of luxury as they hurl me up and around before I use a camera trick to reverse the rotation of their tossing station. Despite watching things bathe causing crashes before, the next mission revolves around it. But luckily the curse of Nintendo doesn't seem to trigger here, so after the old spit shine I take what's mine. Once again we're face to face with a basket case who we chase and try to mace before we put him in his place. Pushing out of the pipe, I plan to progress to Pina Park where I propel myself past the point of a planned picture show and postpone it by exiting the area, which puts me on a coaster where I bolster a plethora of missiles to mash the mechanical menace, and then skip another scene by menuing in a masterful manner. And it's a good thing we skipped that cutscene too, so we didn't have to think about the implications caused by Peach not outright denying Junior was her child. Not to flip-flop, but I flip-hop into the mole's hole and don't stop till I get the drop on the shine at the top. Back at the park, I'm able to get a fast pass seeing as how I have a job and no kids, and I use it to sample all of the park's rides in record time, while finding various change that's fallen off from patrons, before I receive word that youths are loitering on the beach. I spray them down and evict them from life, and a kind mother who sounds suspiciously like Space Mama hands me a shine. Parks are better with pals, so I invite Yoshi along and throw a snack into the park for him to munch on later. However, even the sight of roller coasters makes him nauseous, and unfortunately he vomits on one of the patrons. I sidestep to bypass the security up front and avoid making a scene, but sure shooting he does it again. I feed him his snack in an attempt to settle his stomach, and we head over to the carousel, seeing as how that's a nice calming ride. But I black out ironically from dehydration and wind up in a fever dream and do some insane tech of doing absolutely no tech at all. But worry that might be boring, so I at least throw in a semi-spicy wall jump and dive. Upon regaining consciousness, I realize the malicious Mario has returned, and like a bad fanfiction, I get him wet before taking his prize. Diving into the water to rehydrate myself, I showcase the weird loading area around the docks before I flip and dip, only to slip when Cece rolls another Freeze-BB, which forces me to appreciate the fine craftsmanship in these wooden crates.
What is that? Mahogany? That is a sturdy wood right there.
Heading back up, it's time to trample the tentacled terror, but with a spray and a pull, I bypass any need for grotesque actions. Feeling the immense guilt of beating a squid who was in fact not a kid, I elect to forego the use of these aquatic beings, and instead decide to main Inkling as I slide around the stage hitting select points in order to trick the game into thinking I did what it wanted. They often say that you must spin to win, so I decide to put it to the test by chaining spin after spin jump in order to reach the bottom of the bottle for an easy shine, and then hippity-hoppity make the droppity to the dock's den and do my best pop star impression by hopping from shaft to shaft before snagging that gold. Ready to tackle the tenacious tentacled terror upon their return, but Cece decides we're going too fast and slows us down with another Freeze-BB.
You might think you have the upper hand this time, Baka Ika, but I've studied the tentacle more than you could possibly imagine.
I didn't feel guilt that time, so I snagged some coins atop the blooper tots, and just as Luigi blasts a load to tentacle studying, we blast a load to shadow dropping and snatch the final shine of the harbor, before heading back to polish off the first area with a trip to the Twilight Zone and another brotherly bop. Back at base, we bop another bro before he has the chance to bestride the best beast known as Yoshi, and then boost this bad boy with a banana to unlock the bad days in. Most people who play this are unaware of the Shining reference this boss makes, but I make my own Shining reference by murdering my wrist spam spraying this malicious manta ray and nabbing a shine. I then head into the beta version of Luigi's Mansion 3, which only features 3 floors and then sand. Beating the beta of Luigi's Spoop House in the middle of a run makes me feel pretty great, so I then treat myself to a banana split. But you know what, I've been good, so I head to the casino to treat myself even further. I take a a chance by not taking any chance at these games of chance and instead take the chance that security won't throw me out after I hop off the wall and up onto the rafter to sneak behind the wall of fun, and into the pipe to further not take any chances because I don't know how to momentum spin jump, so I ride this block like the slightly above casual speedrunner I am. Turns out the beta wasn't actually done and we're face to face with the spooky specter known as King Boo. But hey, even villains need vacations too, so instead of sporting his deadly demeanor, he appears simply drunk off his behind. So I mix him a lovely little cocktail of RNG and pain. Wouldn't you know it, King Boo was actually a worker at the hotel, and so by assaulting him I land myself on janitorial duties to make up for the millions in psychiatric damages. The curse of Nintendo strikes one final time and doesn't allow me to actually load the Shadow Mario chapter. But using some frame-perfect tech, I load a file that already had him beaten that was prepared before the stream. Nearing the end of the game in my sanity, I scale the sudsy and slime slopes to uncork the falls and turn the hillside into the women's private parts when they hear I'm a speedrunner, at least in my mind. Since I'm deluding myself, I figure why not delude myself further and tear down the notions I had of walls actually blocking me from things by springing into action and onto another shine. It's better down where it's wetter, and this time it isn't an innuendo. And also it's not actually better as I shrink and swim to gather a geezer's red coin collection. Again, it's better down where it's wetter, but again it's not because this stage is terrible and I hate it, and this boss fight, and this isn't a joke or anything funny, I 100% just dislike this mission. After hearing of my epic fail, the perverted postal piantissimo persuades me into another pit of speed against my person post-haste, and I style on this casual speedrunner by jump diving the wall but still making it to the end first because unlike casual runners, I still know how to go fast when things get wet. Heading up the cliff one more time, I bounce up to the secret shell to skedaddle through the sinister stage to see if my stuff is enough to snag the semi-final shine. Due to sympathy and not incompetence, I allow the shadowy sibling to scooch up the slopes to save his self-esteem before slapping him with my satchel's salivating snout and snagging the final shine. His tears are so plentiful it floods the stage, and with a bounce or two I boogaloo to the brew to subdue the screw who kidnapped my boo. Yet again I get another chilling reminder that I do in fact live in America and the rest of the world is laughing at me as I clash with Corona yet again. Much like someone fanning the flames, I douse them with water before heading to the boat I use to float across the moat, where I can then think, what if instead of one rocket jump it was multiple rocket jump, and put the plan into action and head up above. The beastly behemoth known as Bowser bathes and battles me at the same time, but my rocket-propelled undies assist me in using my pasta-powered pound-packing posterior to pulverize point after point before I pop the pop out of his slop and secure my W. If you'd like to see more videos akin to this, gun, or get laid %, please comment below with suggestions of silly mods or speedruns you think could be fun. I'm trying to stave off the salt for the time being as there's enough suffering in the world, and the last thing I want to do is cause more discourse. I really just want to make people smile. So to help the channel stay afloat, consider subscribing and ringing the bell. Or don't. Whether you like me or hate me, you still watch my video, which helps the channel. Sorry if I disappointed you. Have an end slate as a consolation.